going on YouTube? This is BoxingWave. Paulie Malignaggi against Danny Garcia is a tough fight to call, in my opinion. It's very tough because Danny hasn't really looked impressive. He hasn't really looked great lately. Okay, ever since he beat Lucas Matisse and he kind of went straight to superstardom, he just hasn't been that impressive. He fought Herrera. A lot of people feel that Herrera won that fight. I know I did. He fought Ross Salka, a guy that he had no business being in the ring with, and then he went on to fight Lamont Peterson, which was another controversial decision. Okay, a fight that many people believe Peterson won, or could have easily won if he wanted to fight a certain way. But it's hard to call. Paulie definitely has the skills. I mean, he has the experience, he has the skills, he has the tools, the fundamentals to be able to beat a guy like Danny and outbox him. Okay, can he do it at this age? At this stage in his career, after coming off a brutal knockout loss against Sean Porter, can he do it? I really don't know at this point. I don't know. I know recently who'd he fight besides Sean? He's fought Zab Judah, a guy that was not engaging with him in any way whatsoever. Uh, who else did he fight? Paulie fought they lost to Adrian Broner, I think, before that, and in a fight that was very close. Um, it was very competitive, but they gave the decision to Adrian Broner. What I think both fighters need to do, Danny is gonna have to be aggressive. He's gonna have to be okay. Uh, he was definitely aggressive against Lamont Peterson in that fight. Peterson was able to make him miss, but the problem with Peterson is that Peterson was not making him pay for it. He was just trying to make Danny look bad. And when he was aggressive, certain rounds, especially towards the end of the fight, he made Danny Garcia look bad. Mauricio Herrera made Danny Garcia look bad by shooting jabs to the pit of his stomach and just keeping his moving. And he was doing a lot of hold. He was doing a lot of punching, tap, tap, holding, tap, tap, coming out of the clinch. And Danny just was not being aggressive. He really didn't know what to do. He looked very confused in that fight because of the activity of Herrera, the feints, okay, the body punching, just his activity overall. Paulie is very active. He's very high volume. He's great. He has a great jab. Um, he needs to use it. Okay. He throws good combinations. One thing I think Paulie needs to do is not stand in front of Danny Garcia. As of late, Paulie hasn't been using the ring as much as he used to. Okay, he is getting older. He's been standing in front of guys a lot more often than before. I thought in the Sean Porter fight, he really wasn't using his legs like he should have. Even in the fight against Adrian Broner, okay, I just don't think he was using his movement like the way that he should have. I thought he was a little too close to Adrian Broner when they were fighting. I think he was just a little too close. Danny does not have long arms. He's not a long range fighter. He's more of a mid-weight range fighter. You want to kind of keep the distance between you and Danny. Keep him on the outside. Use your jab, and shoot that straight right down when you can. The opportunities, just keep looking for angles and just basically just keep the distance between the two of you because Danny is not as aggressive as he should be. Okay, he's not. Um, and that can play into Paulie Malignaggi's advantage. Okay, Paulie just needs to stay active, keep shooting the jab, and keep the distance between him and Danny because Danny is just not an outsider. He's just not. Danny, on the other hand, needs to be more aggressive. Needs to work on countering Paulie. When he shoots the jab, come over the top with the right hand, which he's usually good at doing. He needs to use his jab as well. Okay, it's not as good as Paulie's, but he needs to be aggressive. Okay, he needs to try to smother Paulie. He needs to get on him. Um, Paulie has lost of guys that has pressured him. You know, you need to pressure Paulie in order to win and beat him. Um, that's the kind of guys that beat him, that were able to use more volume against him, like Amir Khan, you know, guys that were able to pressure him, like Hatton and Miguel Cotto with the body shots. Okay, those are the type of guys that you need, that you got to watch and hopefully um, basically do the same kind of, do the same thing in order to beat Paulie. I'm trying to think of anything else. I really don't think, the thing, it's hard to call these fights because two of Danny's recent fights that have gone to either fighter. You know, um, I think somebody is gonna really have to clearly beat Danny, which I thought Herrera did, but someone has to clearly, really clearly beat him in order to win the fight, in my opinion. And I'm just not sure if Paulie could do that at this stage in his career. They could just have to totally outclass Danny Garcia in order to win a fight against him. Unless you're another star yourself, which Paulie really isn't right now. Um, I just don't see the judges giving it to Paulie. It's gonna be one of those fights where Danny's not gonna look great, like Sean Porter did against Paulie. Um, he's not gonna look great, but he's gonna land the more meaningful shots because he does have more power. Paulie is gonna be outworking him, schooling him at some points with the jab, um, and just frustrating Danny with his movement. Okay, um, like I said, Paulie doesn't move as much as he used to. I don't even think he moves as nearly as much as Lamont Peterson was in that fight against Danny. But I don't think what he has is going to be able to be enough to win the fight. Um, I don't think Danny can stop Paulie Malignaggi, and obviously Paulie's not going to be able to stop Danny. But I do think Paulie is going to make Danny look bad again. I don't think either fighter is going to look great. But I still think Danny is going to still be able to win this fight because he's going to land the bigger shots between the two of them. Okay? But I do think it's possible that Paulie wins the fight. It's possible. I think a lot of people this is going to be another controversial one where people think that Paulie won the fight, but people are going to say that Danny won the fight because Danny landed the bigger shots whenever he did land, whenever he does land, okay, because he's the bigger puncher between the two. But I just can't see the decision going to Paulie Malignaggi against Danny Garcia unless he totally outclasses him. Like, I just can't see it happening. And that's it. I got Danny Garcia winning this one by decision. I think Danny at some point is going to get it together. I think early in the fight, I think Paulie's going to be doing his thing. Maybe even the first couple rounds he might win. But I think at some point, Danny got to get his timing together and be able to counter Paulie. He's definitely going to have to be able to do it. And I think he will. I think he's going to land some big, meaningful shots that are going to win rounds for him. I think there's going to be points where Paulie's going to be winning rounds, and then Danny might land one or two meaningful shots, and he might steal a couple rounds too. That's just the way I see it going. Paulie's pretty tough. I know he got stopped by Porter, but Porter's a different type of fighter than Danny Garcia. Danny is not as aggressive as a Sean Porter. Another thing too, Danny's best shot is that no look left hook that he does. I don't think he's really, unless Paulie is actually standing. It really all depends on how Paulie chooses to fight this kid. If Paulie wants to stand directly in front of him like he did against Adrian Broner, if he's going to keep himself in range, then he might get hit with a good shot. But it depends on how he chooses to fight. If he fights a smart fight and pick him apart from the outside, he should basically make Danny look pretty bad in this fight. All right, but I still got Danny winning the fight. I think Danny's going to win the fight. But I do think it's going to be competitive, and I think it might even be a controversial decision again for Danny Garcia, all right? People are going to say he got a gift win again. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. But I do have Danny winning this fight. All right, so that's my pick.